Time for the second in the series in which we think about what makes a decent simile. How good are your ones? Can you make them even better? Well, stay tuned. This is Schofield on Shakespeare. As with the previous video and the videos on personification and metaphors, I will present you with a series of cheeky challenges. You will be given two anonymised similes to think about, one from Edith Wharton's splendid 1907 novel The Fruit of the Tree, and one from the writing of a past pupil I have taught. Then the fun will start. You will need to pause the video and decide which simile is likely to make an examiner weep and which simile is likely to make them beam. Let's get started.
Two shortish similes to begin with. Read them through carefully, possibly jotting down some notes. Which one do you think is more interesting and why? Press pause to do this. The video will resume automatically in 5 seconds time. Let's take each simile in turn. Oh my god, did your heart sink when you read this? As discussed on numerous occasions previously, it gets astoundingly tedious reading simile after simile invoking wild animals. Lions, cheetahs and tigers appear to be particularly popular. Yes, I know cheetahs are extremely quick, and so this simile emphasises the speed at which the wretched narrator's legs are whirring. But frankly, I don't believe that they're going that fast, and I don't find the hyperbole remotely effective. That said, the verb were is potentially more interesting than some other verb choices, e.g. ran. The second one, a little bit more interesting. This simile implies the difficulties of being welcomed and accepted within New York society, with the phrase disquieting cloud suggesting that this is something which troubles Mrs. Gaines and her beloved daughters. The use of a cloud within imagery is not particularly original. Is it perhaps the more interesting adjective disquieting, along with the subject of an entire city, which ensures that this simile remains fresh and effective? Two more for you to get your teeth into. Make bullet point notes on which simile is the most effective and why. Yep, it's pause time. Isn't the first one beautiful? The simile is contained within the first clause of the sentence, which suggests a kind of calm, natural serenity to the movement of life, a certain tranquil equilibrium. However, isn't it the subsequent subordinate clause which ensures the beauty of the sentence as a whole? This develops the simile further to talk specifically about the light from the sun reflecting onto the surface of the water, causing a beautiful shimmering effect. So effective similes which reference a river may give further details about that river, its ripples, its currents, its hidden pockets. On to the second simile. What the hell? Are we back in primary school? Yes, I know faces when embarrassed go reddish, and I know the top of the set of 3 traffic lights is red, but really, aren't similes supposed to add something fresh, add further insight or perspective into an image? It's simple. Add traffic lights to your list, which includes lions, tigers, cheetahs and any bloody wild animal. Never go there. Now for another two, dear viewers, subscribers, and not forgetting dedicated pupils. Read them and consider. Which one is the more effective? Why? Make brief notes. Press pause now. Let's take the first one first. 2 similes for the price of 1. However, before we discuss them, it's important to note that the first sentence doesn't contain a main verb. It is grammatically incomplete. The question is this okay? Has this been done for deliberate effect? A grammatically correct sentence would contain a main verb, and the most obvious choice would be was. Excluding the was makes the sentence more dramatic and abrupt. However, in my experience, many pupils do this without realising it, and more than a couple of grammatically incomplete sentences within a full piece may suggest to the examiner that you don't really know what you're doing, as well as leading to an irritatingly breathless feel. What are the similes themselves? Certainly, to state the obvious, they are keen to emphasise just how calm and flat this water is. However, I do wonder, is there any difference between the flatness of a mirror and a snooker table? And if there isn't, do we really need both these images? I also wonder about the clarity of the phrasing. Does "with less than no ripples" seem unnecessarily clunky to you? If we need to reference ripples, can we not just have, say, "without ripples"? On to number 2. In my first video, I talked about the potential benefits of experimenting with hyphenated similes. As well as a Cordelia-like answer, there was a sparrow-like head and some reed-like strength. I like the use of the relatively unusual adjective done, famously used in Shakespeare's Sonnet 130 to apparently disparage a loved one's breasts, to describe the woman's colouring. Meanwhile, thrush-like suggests the woman's light weight and delicacy, whilst her grey-brown colouring is made more interesting and varied by the suggestion of different shades and tints. Looking at the picture of the thrush, these different shades can clearly be seen. Overall, rather nice. What do you make of these 2 similes? Which one is more effective and why? Press pause to read, think, and make some notes. Plenty of things to ponder here. One first. And, to understand it fully, let's include a definition of the unusual adjective vitreous. Interesting, hey? My video on metaphors talks of a mist of distress dimming a young lady's face. And here we have a simile referencing a mist of sympathy apparently coming from a man's face. For me, what makes this simile effective is the doubt it raises about the genuineness of the man's sympathy. The surface of his face is described as being transparent in effect. Therefore, surely there should be no doubt about whether he's been sympathetic or not. However, the seemed like makes us wonder, whilst the image of mist stresses the paucity of apparent fellow feeling. Its ambiguity makes it interesting and, to reference other recent videos, complex, engaging and effective. On to the second one, which kicks off with a metaphor suggesting the magical beauty of the snow. And what of the simile? Well, it's different, isn't it? And the colours seem to work pretty well. Cheese is yellowy white, and when we sprinkle it delightedly on our pasta dish, it does stand out against the different darker shades of meatball and sauce. However, I've got 2 slight issues with this simile. Firstly, is the adjective innocent used to describe the bowl overdone? Secondly, does the mundane reference to a messy, sloppy meal rather clash with and even slightly soil the magical beauty implied from the previous image of cold white fairy dust? Goodness me, we've got to the last 2 already. Which one is the more interesting and effective? Why? Quite a bit to read for the second one. Press pause now. First one first. No, 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 and no again. Just add cobra or any type of snake to that list of yours. Number 2 is quite complicated, isn't it? Well, it's helpful to understand that a significant proportion of the novel explores the condition of workers in a textile mill, and this sentence refers to the noise within such a mill. Let's take bits of the sentence in turn. The first part of the sentence suggests that our hero, idealistic John Amherst, has got used to the different types of sounds within the mill and now hardly notices them, even though the unpleasantness and scope of these sounds is clearly indicated through the alliterative phrase malicious multiplication. The sentence continues by talking about the effect of all these sounds. Whether we realise it or not, our nerves respond and twitch to the different noises in the mill. It is clearly not a place for restful relaxation. Now we get to the simile. Whether we think of the meaning of pincers on screen or the curved claws of a crab, this image clearly stresses just how painful it is to hear the bellowing, screeching from the machinery within the mill. It is as though it is literally physically cutting away at you. And within the final part of the sentence, note the proliferation of verbs: drumming, hissing, grating and crashing, which gives the reader a very vivid sense of the deafening din and, by implication, appalling work conditions of the mill. Now, within your own writing, be wary of very long sentences, but I wanted to share with you a longer, more complex sentence to illustrate that the simile needn't necessarily be the cornerstone, the main focus of a successful sentence.
I hope you have found this exploration of 10 similes interesting and useful. This has been a Schofield on Shakespeare production. Many thanks for watching.